Spoiler alert for this video, I like this laptop. This is the Asus ProArt 16 2024 model. I've had this for about a month now, and I've been using it as a primary daily driver. I often have like a second, but this is my primary daily driver for about 3 weeks to a month, something like that. This is a fantastic laptop. I've actually finished recording a comparative review between this here, a G16, G14, and the 13-inch model of this laptop. I've already done a review of the 13-inch model of this laptop, so there'll be some type of review coming out on that, however I piece it together, and I might put some of the footage in this video as well. So what is the 2024 Asus ProArt? You can see there's some fingerprints on it. Well, this here is a 16-inch Ultrabook, true Ultrabook laptop. It's kind of like the G16. The G16 is a hybrid laptop meant for creators and also, some gaming. It's sold under the gaming lineup, but it's more of a hybrid. So basically the same type of thing. There's a few differences between this and an Asus G16 that would make me say that the G16 is a little bit more of a gaming laptop than this. Like, this is a hybrid laptop, but really towards the creator side of it. I'd consider this an actual creator laptop. The G16 is kind of a mixed laptop. What's the difference? Well, as you'll see in this review, when I'll put in some footage, the chassis is almost the same as an Asus G16. 4K screen, 4K OLED screen, not a high refresh rate, only 60 Hertz. But it's Pantone validated. It's meant specifically for professional work, just like the ProArt 13. This is specifically for not just the work that I do. Like, I do graphic design type stuff for my channel. I even do some cartography type stuff, which does require color accuracy and good color space. But this is for like real professional work. People who are creating labels for companies like, I don't know, Pepsi or Nestle. And it's like, man, that screen needs to be perfect to what it needs to be, because I can't have any color variations because it's a professional thing that's going to be printed and put all over the world. That's the type of screen we're getting on this laptop here. If you take your graphical design, your video editing very seriously, photo editing, this is going to be the screen for you. This laptop, like I said here, you can use it for gaming. I have been gaming on it, but 4K on this screen, I mean, it's a bit of a high resolution for 4060, 4070. You can get it done, but it is a bit of a high resolution, but it's still enjoyable, realistically. CPU here is crazy performance as well. So we'll jump into this review here. We'll look at the internals. We'll look at all the different screen performance, noise, acoustics as well, and I will bring in a little bit of footage between the other models, the 13-inch ProArt, the G16 as well. I'll do a little bit of comparison there. Okay, looking at comparison now between the two ProArts, 13 and 16, just primarily for form factor in that. I mean, obviously one's bigger, one's smaller, so it's not rocket science, but you may decide, which one do I need? So, I mean, that's the size difference there, 13.3 versus 16 inches, pretty considerable. They're both nice slim packages, obviously. Right, but there is a big size difference there on the screen and everything. Thickness-wise, more or less the same. More or less the same. Ports are a little different too, and exhaust as well. The ProArt 16 exhausts exclusively at the back there, you can see. The ProArt 13 does out the back and the sides, a little different. Right? Power in, same exact port there. HDMI on both, USB on both, USB-A on the ProArt 16 that is not present on the 13 there. That design is just slightly different, but whatever. And then on this side over here, USB-C again, USB-A, micro SD versus full-size SD. So here you get a full-size SD and an extra USB-A. Otherwise the ports are the same. All right, very nice. Obviously this one here is a 2-in-1. I think you can get the 13 non-2-in-1. This happens to be the 2-in-1, 2-in-1 one, right? Very nice. Nice slim little package. Beautiful laptop. Already did a review on it. And I'm working on my review of the 16, obviously. Both prone to fingerprints. This one has been used for much longer. I've had this for much... This one's been used for much longer. Obviously, I've been using it longer. It has fingerprints on it. This one here is only a few days of use, still also fingerprints. I don't like black matte laptop fingerprints, so it drives me crazy. I prefer the G16 for that reason, in terms of chassis design at least. Right? Where you can give it a quick wipe down. Yeah, they're basically the same. Maybe some tiny little differences. You can see the screen size difference there. We're just gonna have to deal with the reflection of that. It is what it is. It's fine. Right? Screen size difference there. Right? Quite a bit different. That's actually lined up on the bottom there now, so you can see just how much more you get there. And then, of course, width-wise, right? Quite a bit more. So lots more real estate. Depends what you're doing. If it's all about portability, or you need access to the tablet features. I mean, obviously, the ProArt 13 is going to be a choice. It's still very portable because it's so thin, but it is a significantly larger package, right? There is also a white model. ProArt, I don't think there's any variations. At least I've never seen one this year, realistically. Footprint, should be very similar, right? The Zephyrus has like a millimeter more. I consider them the same. Very similar from the front. From the side, 1838 on the G16. Why won't you stand up? There's a difference maybe. 1820, it's the same thing. Okay, and there's inside. You can see me reflected on both of them. The G series here, the Zephyrus G series, have a semi-gloss, right? So it's much better for reflections. The ProArt has a very glossy screen, incredibly glossy screen, almost problematically glossy, if that's something. I actually like glossy, but it's more something like that than that there, but that's fine. Same grill type. There's a little bit of, design differences with like the ramp and that, but basically the same. There's up-firing speakers on both. Up-firing, 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 up-firing. Different button for power. Zephyrus does have dedicated volume, which I do really like. The ProArt doesn't have that. They're integrated into here. I don't know why Asus didn't do that. That's one of my favorite things about the Asus Zephyrus lineup, and some of the other ones as well, Strix and that, is those non-integrated buttons being separated. That's really nice, actually. AMD CPU, Intel, but this does come in Intel as well. This does come in AMD, so you can actually get the same specifications. Ryzen HX 370, and you can get this with Ryzen HX 370. It's just absurdly expensive right now, so I'm gonna have the Core Ultra as a shoe-in right now. I think that's what a lot of people are gonna be buying, but you can get it with Ryzen AI. ProArt kind of control there. This one here doesn't have that, right? They're both creator laptops. NVIDIA GeForce Studio. Typically when they have the GeForce Studio sticker on there, they're geared towards either creators or hybrid users. Zephyrus is traditionally their gaming lineup, but they're not really gaming laptops anymore. They are capable of being gaming laptops, but they're hybrid laptops. Very good at ultra portable gaming, very good at ultra portable professional work, but they're not dedicated for like pure gaming. If you want a pure gaming laptop from Asus, I'm going to bring this in even though it's not part of it. That's a gaming laptop, right? Versus the G16. It's thicker, right? It's obviously a bit uglier from my standpoint, more gamery, but this is much thicker and it has way more cooling. This is an 18-inch. Of course, there's a 16-inch model available too, right? This is a gaming laptop. This is a true gaming laptop, right? There's no studio little tag there. This thing is meant for performance and cooling. So this here is a slightly different material than this, right? Plastic. It almost feels like metal, but it's a plasticky material. This, I guess, is the same, but it just feels somehow slightly different, but they're basically the same, right? And there's a look inside of the two laptops. You can see how similar and how dissimilar they are, right? So, G16 ProArt 16. Okay, so just so you can see the difference there. Speakers there got squished. That Asus quality control. I'll live though. That's fine. Batteries, same type of format there. NVMe slot populated. Empty NVMe slot, empty NVMe slot. So far exactly the same. Underneath here, you get some VRM and some Wi-Fi. Put that up. Wi-Fi. Exactly the same. Hint that the same motherboard, as you can see. Then you get a fan to blow over the pipes there. Fan. Is there any difference here? I don't see any, right? They're basically the same laptop. 3 fans. Everything's the same. So they're exactly the same inside, realistically. They look identical, right? You're going to be getting the exact same kind of thin heat pipe. Not a big fan of the cooling on these systems. I will be totally frank there. The heat pipes are too thin. It's supposed to be a thin laptop. I find that's fine. These are expensive. Just put a vapor chamber on them. Then we don't have to have them run hot, and we don't have to worry about these kind of inadequate cooling solutions there. Now, there is one major difference between these two, and that is the actual shape and design of the fans on them. The G series has these kind of double stacked, aggressive razor blade style fans, and the ProArt uses this more traditional thin style fan. We'll do fan noise. It's hard to compare, unfortunately, because this is Intel, this is AMD, but we can just throw them in Cinebench and just get them both just hot, super hot, right? And then we can listen to the fan noise, but we'll see how the sound difference is between the G16, the Zephyrus in general, the 14 uses the same, and the ProArt with this style fan here. Personally, I don't like this fan style. I find that it may actually move more air. It's possible. It may move more air, but it makes a really annoying sound. It makes this high-pitched whirring sound from the air turbulence, like a sound. It's hard to describe, and I find it really irritating. I did it in my G14 review. We'll talk about it when we get there. These ones here, I don't find make that same noise. It's just a whooshing, like a I made those sounds myself. That's kind of the difference there. So I actually really like this style fan. A lot of Lenovo laptops actually use this style fan, and it looks like the ProArt does as well. It's more of an air whooshing sound. It's not irritating. It doesn't drill its way into your brain, whereas these I find drill their way into your brain. Okay, let's have a look at the keyboard here. You can see fingerprints on it. I've been using it for some time now. It is a really nice keyboard. Standard layout. It does have that stupid Copilot button. That's fine though. The negative right off the bat is fingerprints, obviously, but let's do a quick typing test. It's a really nice keyboard to type on. Other than the fingerprints being an issue, I mean, it's fairly low profile keys, but they do have a lot of travel, right? Not as much as like a Legion or something, but still very good. Nice and snappy. You know, no numpad, so that's going to be something that you need to decide on whether you like, but I think a lot of people like this style. It's kind of similar to like a Razer keyboard in terms of layout, but way better because the Razer keyboards are actually too low profile, too little travel. I don't like them. These are actually really nice. It's kind of an in-between. You do get access to big trackpad, huge trackpad, as big as physically can have. Nice and smooth, smoother than the body, obviously. Nice click on it. I prefer a little bit sharper, but that's fine. And you do get access to the wheel here for the ProArt tools. You can customize them. You can set up different ProArt functions there. I don't need to get too much into it. Where are we here? I don't need to get too much into the functions of the ProArt tools there. You can do some various customization with this tool here. Really good if you're doing different creative level tasks, going through timelines, that kind of stuff. So I'm actually noticing right off the bat, this looks, I guess, slightly richer, like ever so slightly richer, but the screen actually looks dimmer, right? Like it's like a deeper, richer red. This is more vibrant. This is probably calibrated better. I mean, it's a ProArt. It's probably calibrated better, but this is more accurate, I'd say. Like her skin looks a little bit overblown there, a little bit pinkish. So this looks like a face. Like that looks like a human being, like legitimately human being. So it's better calibrated. This is brighter. Right? Very natural looking skin. Very, very, very natural looking skin on this woman. A little bit brightened, right? A little bit fake looking. Yeah, I mean, it's a professionally calibrated screen. This is slightly too green, probably realistically. That looks, it's still very vibrant, but it looks more like probably what it's supposed to look like. Right? Again, a little bit too green, very natural looking. And they both have, 100% DCI-P color space options, this and that, but the ProArt is specifically designed. The ProArt is specifically designed for professional graphic design, right? That's how they're selling it, and it's just a more accurate screen. So for actual professional use, not like me, who I'll make GIFs and things like that. I'll make, videos and thumbnails, and I do some cartography work, so I do need high color space and generally good color accuracy, but I'm not making labels for a company that need to be, used all over the world, need to be absolutely perfect. Like here, they look more or less the same. That looks a little too overblown, I would say. Okay, I'm going to test the audio here. I'm going to put them probably around like 60. These both have really good audio, so we'll just kind of see the difference here and see if there is any difference. I'm not actually sure. I've never done them head-to-head. I just know they're both really good. Well, they're darn close. It could just be down to tuning, but the ProArt does actually interestingly sound richer. I don't know. They're so close. They're both so freaking good. It's not really a big deal which one you get. But I mean, this is a video about comparisons, and I would say that the ProArt sounds better. It's like, it's so good. Okay, we're gonna do an audio test between them. I mean, there should be a pretty significant difference. The ProArt 13 does have great speakers firing down. The 16 has great speakers firing down and up firing speakers. So I suspect there's gonna be just probably more richness to it, but let's just get some more empirical data here. Fantastic. So I mean, the 13-inch sounds fantastic, but for a 13-inch laptop, but I mean, there's really no contest here. I found this actually to be better than the G16, which is shocking. So that's that. I think we can also look at the software here. That's going to be a cool one here. ProArt software is actually way better than Armory Create. I don't like Armory Create. It's just this like, and you have to update. Never ask me again. Yeah, I mean, coming here, go to the dashboard. God, there's so much pop-ups on Asus stuff. Like, go away. Anyways, this is just a mess. I know how to navigate because I've used Asus stuff for years. So I mean, here's my GPU mode, and here's all this stuff. The ProArt one is massively cleaned up. Right? I just like the way it looks. Come in here, right? These are some of the stuff over here, memory and storage. Go over again. I mean, it looks better, obviously. That's obviously nice. You get some creative stuff there. Here's your GPU working mode, your power profile, sorry. Down here, it's Windows, silent, performance, turbo manual, Windows whisper, which is silent, standard, which I guess is performance mode versus turbo. You need to have the actual official plug to get into the highest modes. And then there's custom manual. Go here, we'll go to this manual. I actually really like the ProArt interface. I just really like it. It is what it is. So come in here, that pops up a new window over here. It's just kind of a little integrated thing. And you get your fan curvy stuff here, a little bit of power tweaking, right? You can bring these down. It's Intel, so when you do bring down the power, it does start to choke slightly. This is a Ryzen system, so it doesn't seem to do that, and you get an extra control in here. So $80 watts is a lot of watts for an AMD CPU. Take a peek here. Yep, 21, very good. Huge uplift from AMD last generation on their kind of lower wattage stuff, mid wattage stuff. Little drop. Basically the same. That weird whirring sound that the G16 had is gone in this laptop, even though it's a very similar setup. The fans on the G16 are that like aggressive kind of shark tooth style, and they have a weird irritating whirring sound. This doesn't have that at all. It's just an air movement sound. Just a couple of benchmarks here. First things first, we can look at Cinebench R23, and we're going to be getting 23,000 on a full run here. And here I've limited the CPU wattage to only 20 watts. It's 20 watts custom mode, which is very low watt. That's actually below some of the lower wattage CPUs out there, some of those 30 watt ones. And you can see here that we're still getting such a good score, 16,000. Normally, last generation stuff, you'd need full wattage CPUs, to really approach levels like this. So very impressive how well this can scale from high watts all the way down to low watts and still get good performance throughout. Look at the built-in webcam. Looks good. Pretty good polling rate. Lighting is not very good where I am right now. It's starting to become evening, like dusk or whatever. A little bit of light here. Actually starting to get dim over there. It's actually brightening it up slightly and it looks okay. So I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but it looks fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just compare the G16 to the ProArt. You can't really compare them exactly. I mean, they have the same GPU. I wouldn't mind comparing the CPU. However, screen resolutions are different. So one thing that I do want to show here is that, 1600p, 1800p range for 4060, 4070 is ideal. And 4K is going to be pretty rough realistically. So this is Baldur's Gate. I'm doing this because CPU and GPU intensive, not just one or the other. I guess we'll do quality ultra. Let's try that. So we're going to go ultra, and we'll go quality DLSS. Yeah, that's probably fine there. We'll do native resolution, native screen, obviously with a little bit of quality, and we're getting around 72. 70 down to 60, but whatever. I mean, we're above 60 locked. Even with this is a very, very hard area, by the way. So I'm doing this. Right, even some like dips down, but I'd say we're generally speaking above 60 over here. Right, quite a bit noisier, and there's a bit of a whirring sound. You may not be able to. It's actually getting loud. You may not be able to hear it on camera. Right, it's getting pretty noisy. There's a high-pitched noise. It's like something like that. That's kind of the noise there. And it's really annoying. Okay, same scene. Same thing. We have, you can see there's tearing, obviously. A little bit of tearing. It's not going to be ripping out G-Sync. Could throw on V-Sync, which is fine, which I can do, and get rid of that, no problem. But now we're at 4K, right? This is a 4K screen. So, the FPS is basically halved. Not quite, but very close to being halved there. We can come into the different modes. This is like their the standard mode, same thing. We can even go into performance mode, which for some reason got darker. Go into performance mode there. Very good. Come back. Is it going to make a difference? Not really. Maybe it did a little bit actually. And we're almost up to 60 now, so you do get better performance. Close to 60, still well under the other one, right? Which was like double. Not quite double, but 60 or 70% more frames. Obviously screen tearing as well. You can throw on some VSync, but right, you can throw on some VSync here since we're not going to be above 60 anyways. That'll get rid of that. You can come in here and throw that on. That'll get rid of the tearing. Oh, that's not right. Get rid of that there. But again, with VSync on, it's only a 60 hertz screen, so you're never going to go above 60. Whereas on the G16, I mean, VSync is 240. You're never going to go over that. Now we're not tearing anymore. But you can just really see what's going on. But let's check the noise here on performance. That pitchy noise is less here. That like the G16 had that kind of noise. That's not here on this. It's still pretty loud though. But that whirring sound is gone. Come over here and check the thermals. I just actually kicked this up part way. So it's still going to be pretty, yes, it's still going to run pretty hot, right? Realistically, it's still pretty hot on like the turbo mode or whatever. Right, GPU is basic. That's actually slightly warmer if anything. But one of the things, advantages here is you can go, like you can go into these lower modes here because they're more efficient. Or you can go into manual mode, for example, and I'll go like that there. And the GPU, you can leave whatever, just leave it max, right? 50, this is all maxed here, totally fine. And then the CPU, rather than 90, that's crazy. You can really bring down the CPU here because these Ryzen AI chips are pretty efficient, right? The Core Ultra is just not as efficient, realistically. So you can really get that down there. Go like that. Okay, now we'll come back. And look at that. The CPU is at like minimum. It's way quieter, right? It's on like GPU performance mode, but CPU not performance mode. Does that make sense? Right? Okay, so we're going to do just a very rudimentary game testing. We know what a 4060 can do, 100 watts, 80 watts, 4060 can do. At this point, I know what an HX 370 can do, but the issue here is the 4K screen, right? It's a very high resolution screen, so you can see it's 4K, right? This game would run normally very well on this CPU and very well on this GPU, but you can see here it's giving us 30 for DLSS. This thing is cranked the DLSS up here, right? Because it's such a high resolution, right? And it does work, but just get the single number up there. There's no point in doing all the stats and all that. It's not a big deal. We are able to get 60, but you're going to be using a lot of DLSS, frame gen, those kind of things. It's not that it's a weak machine. It's not that it's a weak CPU. It's not that it's a weak GPU. It's that it's 4K, right? Frame gen off now. Just 4K, right? And it's bad, right? Right. So that's the biggest thing here. I mean, you can game, you can do older games, you can do modern games as well. It's just that you're going to need a lot of scaling, specifically because it's 4K. Okay, so that's the review here. The review slash comparison, I guess I'll call it. What do I think about it? It's a beautiful laptop. I've been using it, like I said, as a daily driver for, I don't know, like 3 weeks to a month, something like that there. Somewhere around there. And it's a lovely laptop. Really good battery life, realistically, especially if you consider how performant the CPU is. You get really good battery life on it. The thermals are good, realistically, even under heavy load, thermals are good. The HX, it's going to be still a lot of cores. There's a lot of, power going into it, but it doesn't need the same kind of watts as something like a 14th gen processor to get the same performance. So that's really nice here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful screen. There are negatives to the screen. It's very glossy, very, very glossy. So, I mean, if you don't want a glossy screen, maybe not for you, but it's a touch screen, glossy display, beautiful. Realistically, the nicest screen I've ever used in the glossy sector. There are screens that I would say, like, personally, maybe I prefer more because they're not glossy, but if you need a professional screen, real professional, actual graphic design screen, this is the one here. Negatives, like other than that there, the screen being glossy, it's really expensive, but that's fine. I'm not okay with the price because there's a niche for it. It has, all the brand new Ryzen AI chip, which is expensive for every OEM. They're paying money for it to AMD, so it's expensive. It does have RTX. That's going to be expensive as well, even if it's, a little bit older now. All metal chassis, amazing speakers, really nice screen. Probably cost them a lot of money to even put that in there. And when you do get the Tantal validation, all that on the screen as well. So it's just a nice machine. So I mean, being a little bit more expensive, I'm fine with it because it's a creator level laptop meant for creators. There's a niche for it. There's a niche for the price to be what it is as well. So that's really, really nice. In terms of, the one negative that drives me crazy, the screen I can deal with, this thing's bad for fingerprints. This black, it's the ProArt. This is like the ProArt design, like the black and kind of bronzy gold thing that Asus does. I appreciate the aesthetic. It's beautiful. Even their like ProArt tools have the same aesthetic there. It's a beautiful thing. You can see that like, I don't know, bronze, is that the color? Bronzy color. It's just a beautiful thing, realistically. It's really nice. But it does make this thing brutal for fingerprints. So, I mean, the G16 with that like dark gray, super dark gray, it's basically the same chassis and it just doesn't get fingerprints or you can't see them as much. So it actually started to drive me crazy. I don't know if you can see. I didn't want to wipe it. I mean, this is a lot of use. I've been using this as a daily for a while, right? And there definitely are fingerprints, right? You can see them there now, right? And I'm not a greasy boy by any means. So yeah, that's the negatives. But yeah, there you go. I mean, if you're looking for a creator level laptop, real creator level laptop, hyper portability, crazy, crazy good performance with a screen that's just going to absolutely shock you. And you can do gaming on it, but it's not your primary focus by any means. This is probably the one to get. This is a truly outstanding laptop, but it's so bad for fingerprints. That's my only real gripe about this thing is the fingerprints are like abhorrent. But otherwise, it's a truly outstanding laptop. It's been a pleasure to use, realistically, this laptop for the last month or so. I'm going to move it on to someone else now, but I mean, it's actually kind of sad. I think about this laptop a lot because it is a really, really nice laptop. And I'm a big fan of that Ryzen AI. It's just such a good chip. So that's the ProArt 16 there. Really nice.